Welcome to Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings, with me, Gretta Chamberlain, and the Realm of Beings. Shifting Impressions, which is one of the vehicles that supports the transmission of the Realm of Beings, is here to assist you in delving into your being by providing numerous topics and discussions for you to intake as you deepen your connection with your inner world. Shifting Impressions is here to assist you in strengthening yourself as you excavate to understand your true nature. Join us today and learn to shift your mindset, shift your thoughts, and shift your focus to recreate your life and produce a new you. Shifting Impressions starts now.
Good morning, listeners. Good morning.
Okay. Listeners, we have a challenge with, it's a technical challenge, but we're going to try and continue on with the program. Carol is speaking, but cannot hear her at this moment.
Oh, I apologize that my sound is cutting out. Let me repeat that I'm here with Gretta and the Realm of Beings, and unfortunately, Leigh is not with us this week, but we are happy to be here on Transformation Network, broadcasting every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time and 8 a.m. Pacific. These conversations with the Realm of Beings will help us to explore your creation of reality, what you're creating in your life and how it shows up and what you can do to change it. Every week, Gretta downloads a quote from the Realm of Beings that we discuss. And during the second part of our broadcast, we will have the Realm actually weigh in and give us their thoughts. This week, the quote we will discuss is, "Accept that each person creates his or her own reality and is not influenced by your reality unless the choice is made to do so." Gretta, my first question on that is, who is making that choice on whether or not reality is being influenced by someone else?
Each one of us makes a choice, Carol, because each one of us creates our reality. Now, what happens is that other people, other individuals, other events come into our sphere by way of attracting. We attract them to us. And what we're attracting to us always is someone or something or an event, whatever, to support us where our unconscious is. That's why we talk about the create
support and support create. Yeah.
Right. That's why we always do that, because that's what's really happening. And we call that the existence protocol. That's a protocol that is going on throughout all of existence. It's working with other species that we have never seen in our lives. It's working with other planets that aren't even here in this universe with us. So it's something that works throughout everything. Yeah.
Okay. So my main takeaway from this quote is, again, to not blame others and to also not judge others, to just accept we're all doing the same thing. We're all creating our own reality.
Right, absolutely. But that becomes very difficult for us, especially when we've judged someone to do heinous acts.
Right.
Or someone who is creating a war, or someone who is really discriminating against another group of people or a person or a religion. We would look at those people, we would judge them and say that, those are horrible people.
Right.
But that's our perception.
Correct.
That's our perception of it, yeah.
So we have to take a step back and understand and accept that they're not they're basically supporting someone else's creation of reality.
Absolutely. Because it goes back to, as we said earlier, create, support, create. All of that is going on simultaneously.
Right.
Like right now, there are the two of us here. So I'm creating and supporting you. You're creating and supporting me. So, and that's going on at the same time, even though we don't look at it and can break it down and say, okay, this is what's happening, but it is.
Right.
It's always the support. So that goes with when you said blame, we don't need to blame anybody for anything. You know, I always turn it around and I reflect on myself. I said, how in the heck did I create that? Why did I create something like that? So it's to not look at the other person because they're giving you support to where you are at. So therefore, it's to look at you. Why am I creating this?
So other people's behavior or our perception of their behavior is really like an indicator for us to look into ourselves, what to look for.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. Because they're showing us parts of ourselves.
Right.
They're showing us that. It's like if someone, and I've said this before in the podcast, I've created for someone to say something derogatory toward me, and I know one particular person that I was saying that 2 years ago, that was being derogatory to me or saying, Greta, you're this, and Greta, you're that. The only thing I could tell him was, thank you for telling me who you are.
Right.
That's it. Because you cannot see in somebody that which is not within you. You see the person, you perceive the person from where you are at. Someone the other day said that someone was narcissistic. I said, well, then that means that there's narcissism within you. It has to be there, otherwise you can't see it. So you want to you want to stay clear of blame, still stay clear of non-acceptance of someone. It's not to say that you want to like them, because we have personalities here, and the personalities are what set how we're going to be. So some of us, if we want to put judgment to it, some of us are nicer than others. But
Right.
the thing is to teach yourself, and you have to practice this. It's not something that just all of a sudden you're able to do it. You have to practice it. You have to catch yourself when you're getting ready to criticize somebody, because that criticism is really a criticism that you have about yourself.
Right. It's difficult. I'm not going to lie. I have difficulty at times to notice that that's what I'm doing, but I'm definitely becoming more cognizant of it. And I try to reflect within, like you said, why am I seeing this or having this said to me or shown to me?
Right. And it's like if someone is getting angry with you, don't look at that person's anger. Note that it's something that's within you.
Right.
That is creating to have that experience. That first sentence in that quote, accept that each person creates their own reality, or at least as part of the sentence.
Yes.
That important word, I think, in that section is accept.
Right.
When we're getting into accept the realities of whatever a person has created, then we're getting into unconditional love. Because part of unconditional love is that you accept that each person creates their own reality, and it's okay. It's okay what reality they create. Some of us, we all create to make the decision when we're going to exit this reality. and some people say, why did you leave me? And, they go into all these gyrations, and I can understand it because they're very close to the individual. But at the same token, you want to let that individual know that it was okay.
Right.
It's okay that you decided to leave today. It's okay. It's all right. And that is showing a deeper love of that person than saying, why did you hurt me? Why did you leave me? Instead of going in there, go with love, go with unconditional love. And that's acceptance.
And if I can just mention that goes beyond even humans. A lot of us who have lost pets and have felt great, it's just as painful sometimes. But again,
Absolutely.
you have to send them off with love also.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, yes. So, and the influence part of this quote is dealing with where each person is at. Am I feeling angry today? Am I feeling depressed today? If you're feeling depressed, you're going to see that there are going to be situations, occasions, people that will come, that you will attract to yourself for the purpose of showing yourself that you are feeling depressed or you are feeling angry, or you're feeling sad. So you want to come out of these, what I'm calling now your go-tos, the go-to, that's the usual low vibrational things that once things get going and they get tough, we switch over right away to a go-to,
Habit also, just habits.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Habits are really interesting because they have a stronger hold on you because you've been practicing it. You practice hating people. So therefore it becomes difficult for you to turn around and say, I'm going to love everybody unconditionally because you've been practicing hating people for so long.
Right.
Or you can practice feeling great. I feel great today. I feel great this morning. That takes practice as well. It just doesn't show up. You got to know when you're getting ready to go into those go-tos. You be cognizant of it. Watch what causes me to feel sad. What causes me to feel lonely? What causes me to be angry, or bristly with this particular person? What does that? And that is all internal work. It's never external work, all internal, as we've always said in this podcast. Seek inside of yourselves, not outside.
And a key word you used, Brett, I think is practice. I once had someone tell me about like positive thinking or practicing being positive. And she mentioned it's just like any muscle in your body. If you are exercising regularly, your muscles are stronger, it becomes easier to exercise. But when you stop, it becomes more difficult to start again. And it's the same thing with your mind. If you practice reflection of, I am creating my reality, when you stop practicing that, it becomes difficult again to recognize that you're creating whatever situation you're in.
Absolutely. And see, some of us don't want to accept that we created it. I had a young lady that had called me for me to work with her. We decided that I was not the best person for her to work with. And that was because she said to me, I am a kind and wonderful person. So I said, okay, that's great. She's kind, she's wonderful. That's how she feels about herself. But then she said, there are people that do terrible things to me. They do terrible things to me. They've hurt me. And so when we got into the discussion of creation of reality, and I said to her, I said, well, you created that part. No, I did not. told me right away, no, I did not. You did not know. I did not create anything negative or quote unquote, as she said, bad
Right.
in my life. I did not do that. Someone else did that to me. I did not.
The
You know,
blame game.
right, right. Because then you don't want to accept what you've done. You don't want to accept what realities that you've created. And see, realities don't just come reality. You have extensions of those realities that you're talking about now. You know, because you can hate somebody. Maybe your hate is right there with this particular person. Maybe it's with, I hate Joanne today. Okay. But that hate is not going to stay there with Joanne. It's going to turn around and it's going to go in you because you own it. You own the hate. Joanne doesn't own the hate. You own the hate. So it's going to go inside you. And then what else? If it's inside you, then what are you going to create? You're going to see yourself probabilities of creating a reality where people are going to show you that they hate you.
Mm.
You see, so the thing doesn't just sit right there. It just doesn't. You know, it reverberates into all kinds of things. All kinds of things. It's like if you are a believer in lack, you know, that you believe that that you have no money and you can't accomplish the things that you want to accomplish, and you're thinking on that. You're thinking on lack. So what's going to happen? You're going to find that you're going to get more lack. You're going to, or things will show up, a bill will show up that you didn't even think of that was coming. And so that's a lack. You know, it's showing you that. It's going to show energy is what creates the realities. That's the energy. And the energy is always with you. And the energy is the force itself. It's the force is lending itself for you to create the realities for it to experience. So it's not the cause of it. It's you are the cause, but it is experiencing the same thing with you, because this whole thing, this whole existence is about experiential evolution of the force itself. That's what it's about. I don't care what planet you're on. I don't care what species you're on, what species you are. I mean, that it is all for the experiential evolution of the force. And because we are the force, then we're having an experiential evolution ourselves.
Would that be what you would call the lessons we need to learn?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, we could tie it into lessons, because everything is a lesson.
Right.
You know, everything, you know, you stub your toe, that's a lesson. You got cancer, that's a lesson. They gave you a surprise birthday party, which made you very happy. That's a lesson. Everything is a lesson. We're learning from everything. And the force is experiencing everything. But can you imagine that the force is experiencing everything simultaneously throughout all of existence? Like right now, people are focused on me talking. So they're focused there. But think of all the people all around the world that are talking at the same time I'm talking. And we're focused so that we only deal with what we see, what we feel, what is our individual experience, you know. And so in that quote was acceptance of, let me see.
That everyone creates his or her own reality and is not influenced by your reality unless the choice is made to do so.
Yeah, yeah. But there was something I was going to say about that, but for some odd reason, it's decided that it's going to, or I've decided that it's going to leave me. So I won't be able to say that, what I wanted to say, but yeah, that's it. Accept is going down into unconditional love. Oh, I know what I was going to say. I was going to say that acceptance, when it says accept, that each person. Another acceptance is accepting that you did something.
Mm-hmm.
See, it's not just accepting of the other person. It's important for you to accept what you've done as well. This is a two-way street. And really where it first begins, it begins with you. The acceptance begins with you. Yeah.
I think that sometimes that's more difficult than accepting others, because a lot of us aren't looking at ourselves as closely as we should in order to understand what we're creating and why we're creating. And it's always easier to blame someone else for something that you don't like. And I've met lots of people like that woman that you said, who are more than willing to accept anything good that happens to them as they're doing. But as soon as it's something that displeases them, they go into the blame game. And again,
Absolutely.
it's not acceptance of self.
Right. It isn't. And so that can cause all kinds of challenges, health challenges, because if we look into the mental equivalencies of some of the health challenges, people are dealing with migraine headaches, people are dealing with cancer, people are dealing with having a cold, for instance, and I'm going to negate that word having, because it's not really that we're having anything. It's just that we think we're having something. But in the reality of it, we're not. The diseases, even though we feel them, we see them sometimes if we're looking in a microscope or whatever, we're not realizing that we've created those things. We've created those things out of our emotions and out of our thoughts.
Greta, you often say, and the realm often says, that if you're not happy with the reality you're experiencing, just change it. And while that sounds very simple and easy, it's really not easy. How can we get through to our listeners how they can change something, like, for instance, an illness? Like, what steps would be involved in doing that?
I think for an illness, we suggest that you consult with your medical doctor to get a heads up on it, so that you can understand exactly what is going on, so that you can understand it. Then once you understand it, then I would suggest that you consult books that deal with mental equivalencies. People are very familiar with the Louise Hay book, Heal Your Body.
Right.
She has mental equivalencies in there. Jacques Martel.
Right.
It's a big, thick book, about at least 2 inches
Much
high.
more detailed.
Yes. That you can look at to give you an idea of where your unconscious is. Mental equivalencies are where your unconscious is. That's it. Where is that? Because the unconscious holds everything.
Right.
It doesn't let go of anything, because the unconscious is another aspect of the force. It is the force as well. The other thing that, I've said, but it might have passed over people, is that there's only one unconscious. See, we think that I have mine and you have yours, and Colton, who's our producer today, has his, but that's not so. There's only one unconscious, and we are all sharing that same one, you see. So consequently, that ties into being one and oneness. That's why that's one of the aspects of being one, because we're sharing the same unconscious. You know, it's like I said once in a class I was teaching, I said, if I'm having, let's say, John Jones is having a headache, you would think that John Jones is the only one having that headache. But what's happening is we all have the headache. Everything in existence, even a blade of grass, everything has that headache. What's happened with us is that we only cue into that which is directly in front of us. So we don't think, and we see ourselves separate. So I can't have the headache that you have because I'm separate from you. So having that, sharing that headache with John Jones is at a deeper level of understanding, a deeper level of where we are. Because not seeing him separate from us, seeing that he's got the headache and I don't have the headache, that's what am I doing? I'm separating myself from him. I'm separating myself so that I can rationalize that at a deeper level that I don't have a headache. You see, it's like putting blinders on. I know when I was growing up, they had the watermelon man would come down the street with a wagon. That's going to date me a lot, but it would, selling watermelon, and the horse would always have blinders on. Always have blinders so that it couldn't see all the people rushing up to get the watermelon, and it wouldn't get spoofed. So we technically have energetic blinders on us so we don't get spoofed. So we're just forging ahead, and we're dealing with and accepting the concept of separation. Acceptance, in that quote, because I know it's almost time, Colton is letting us know it's time for us to move on. But acceptance means that you understand that you are one. Acceptance, I'm one with you, and you're one with me.
As being in the humanoid experience, however, isn't that almost overwhelming to us because of our limitations of our senses? I mean, if we were to experience everything that everyone in the world is going through, I think it would be overwhelming.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why we keep the blinders on. That's our humanoid experience. We're not aware.
Species that are able to do that, though, that don't have the blinders?
We all have blinders.
Okay.
Every last person. I don't, and psychic, you're going to say some people who are quote unquote psychic. I want to say that everybody's psychic. Some people tell me that I have gifts. And I always say, no, you don't have a gift. You just have an ability. And everybody, every humanoid on this planet has the same psychic abilities, its abilities. So what happens is you decide by choice and by creation of reality what abilities you want to activate. I have people that think, a young woman I'm working with now that thought a long time ago that her psychic abilities were taken away from her. Her psychic gifts are taken away from her. I said, no, they're still there. You just think that they're not. Right. So that what you believe is what you're going to get. How you think is what you're going to get. So start changing those thoughts, put them in a more positive vein. Love yourself, appreciate yourself, accept yourself. Some of us don't even accept ourselves.
True. Yeah. True.
Okay, Carol, I think it's time for us to go.
We're going to take a quick break. And when we return, we will be speaking with the realm and having their direct input on the quote that they've given us this week. Thank you again for listening to Transformation Network, and we'll be right back. Thank you, listeners, for staying with us on this short break. This is the point in our podcast where the realm comes and through Greta to discuss the quote that they have given to us this week. Realm, are you with us?
Yes.
Thank you and welcome. This week's quote is: accept that each person creates his or her own reality and is not influenced by your reality unless the choice is made to do so. What have you to say on this, Realm?
That was a long quote. But the reality, I want to start with what is reality? Reality is anything and everything that you see that you've created. So you're dealing with many realities simultaneously. You just don't realize it because you're dealing with your thoughts. If we think about reality, each one of your thoughts is a reality unto itself. Look how many thoughts you have all day long. Then you have emotion. Emotions create reality as well. So everything that you are working with is assisting you in creating realities. Your emotions, your thoughts, they work together to form the reality. Another word for reality could be experiences. What experiences that you are having. And then part of that experience means that you create, we're not going to even use the word attract. We're going to use the word create. You create people to come in and support you in whatever reality you created. If it's a reality of fear, you're going to see that you're going to bring to yourself, you're going to create elements that assist you in realizing you are fearful. But sometimes when you are in that fear, you think it's coming from outside of yourself. You don't realize it's coming from inside yourself. So as we have stated before, everything is inside. Nothing is outside. Your challenges are inside. Your answers or solutions to the challenges are inside. So when you're having a situation that you don't particularly care for, go inside yourself and ask yourself the question, why? Play the why game with yourself. Why did I create this? Why did I create this person to come into my life? If it's someone that you're happy about, still reflect on that. Know where you were, that you brought a person to you that you really care for you, that really cares for you, and you care for them, okay? So we're just dealing with your creation of reality now, not with the other person's. But you're going to create that person to come to you. And accept that as well. See, acceptance is a biggie. People don't want to accept that they create their realities. People don't want to accept that they think they've made a mistake, because you know there are no mistakes. That's just an English word, or in whatever language it's spoken, that's a misnomer. everything happens on purpose. Everything happens for a reason. You know, some person will say, well, I didn't mean to say that to you. Note that they did. They meant to say it, regardless if you liked it or you didn't like it. Now, if you didn't like it, then you search into yourself and say, well, why did I create for that to be said to me? Why did I do that? But everything is done on purpose. It's showing you something about where your unconscious is, that you at a conscious level are not privy of. So therefore, there have to be signs that are given to you. That's what mental equivalencies are. They are signs of what's going on with you. If there's something happening with your eye, you've created to experience cataracts, then note there is something in your life that you don't want to see. Because that's what deals with the eyes. The eyes deal with seeing. Glaucoma, anything that takes you away from the ability to see what you're creating, you see. Or loss of hearing. I don't want to hear the world, or I don't want to hear a particular person talking to me. So what do I create? I create not to hear. I'll create some kind of malady that's going to keep me from listening to them because I don't want to hear them anymore. You see. Or if you fell down, all of a sudden you fell down. Accidents are basically anger. There are other parts to them, but we talk about accidents or anger. If you get a paper cut, that was on purpose. You call it an accident, but it's on purpose. Because what is that paper cut going to show you? That paper cut is going to show you you're angry about something. And then you can look at what finger did I get the paper cut on? Because what finger gives you some more information about what you are really thinking in your unconscious. You see. So everything has purpose. Your thing is accept that you've created whatever realities you've created. Accept that, because then you're not beating up on yourself. That's the part of the acceptance. You're not beating up on you. And like we said in the quote, it talks about accepting the realities that others create. But we want to tag on to that, accept the realities that you create as well. And to understand them and accept unconditional love. Love yourself unconditionally first. As we've said previously on the other podcasts, fall in love with yourself. Accept yourself. Accept who you are. Accept your experiences, but know you don't have to keep them there. You can change them anytime you want. Some people can change things faster than what others. Some things you've been practicing over and over again since you were children. Some of you have been practicing not loving yourself because your parents taught you that. You created for them to teach you that, because that was one of your lessons that you chose. I want to learn to love myself and appreciate myself and see my divinity. I accept myself as a wonderful, loving person. I accept myself as a divine person. And nobody else can tell me anything different. You see, this life here, this humanoid experience, is you want to walk the experience with courage. You want to walk the experience with love of self. You want to walk the experience of accepting the realities that you've created and knowing that you can change them at any time. Some realities may take you a year. Some realities may just take you 5 minutes. Some realities may take you 62 years. It depends on what the reality is that you created. It's up to you to decide that you want to change. I want to change this reality. I don't want this anymore. I am experiencing love, unconditional love of myself. And others are showing me that I love myself. That's why unconditional love of self is so important, because then everybody else, according to this quote, are going to support you in loving yourself. That's why it's important, because that sets up how you're going to create your realities. You're not going to create a reality for somebody to tell you you're a horrible human being when you love yourself. Because see, create support. They must support you where you are at. Stop looking at the other person. If you're in a relationship with a challenge, don't look at the other person. Look at you. You're the reason for the experience from your part, from your perspective. And your perspective is the only one that you are in charge of. You are never in charge of somebody else. Never. You're only in charge of you. You cannot ever change somebody else. You can only change yourself. The more you love yourself, the greater the experiences of joy and ease you will have. So really, again, everything begins with you. Acceptance of you. But how do you want to accept yourself? I said it earlier in this discussion. You want to accept yourself as being a divine and wonderful person. A divine and wonderful person. Maybe right now, you've decided that you want to experience alcoholism. So you've decided that. There's a reason for that. It's teaching you something. But once you reach the point of love of self, then you no longer need the alcoholism. When you accept and unconditionally love yourself, you no longer need the alcoholism. Because what does alcoholism do? Alcoholism keeps you in a separate state. It keeps you within yourself in sorrow, pain, anguish. It keeps yourself in a critical mode of self. It keeps you inside of avoidance. The alcoholism is not reaching out to others. It's only reaching into you. And it's keeping you into yourself, not wanting to be you, not wanting to love yourself is so important. We cannot stress that as much as we can. We need to stress, that's why we say it every week, love yourself, love yourself. We can set up a mantra, love yourself. We'll put up a placard, love yourself. That's important. That's top priority. That's why you love yourselves more than you love your husband or your mate. You love yourselves more than you love your children. You love yourselves more than you love your parents. Because then you're creating a reality that's going to say, oh, the unconscious is going to say, oh, he or she, they love themselves. They love themselves, will create a loving and easeful and joyful experience. We'll assist them in that creation. It's going to assist you. If it knows that you're sad, it's going to assist you. Oh, the person's sad. Let's help to make them sad. They want to be sad. And those of you who've ever gone down into a state of depression, the more you think about it, I hope you've noticed that you become more depressed.
Mm-hmm.
You see.
Very true.
Yes, because you're giving energy to the depression. And then you keep on getting depressed and you can't get it even out of bed.
Realm, I do have a question. Being, like you say, in a state of depression tends to be easier to achieve than to work at being joyful. Why does that appear so? Or is that just my perception?
No, we will be in agreement with you, Carol. It does that because there are some things that you've learned. You could have chosen a parent back at the incarnation stage. You could have chosen a parent that in their lineage is depression.
Mm.
And back then you would have chosen it, not necessarily back then because everything is going on simultaneously, but you would have chosen that because that's what you want to experience as a humanoid.
Mm.
But let me tack on a word, an English word to that, temporarily. Temporarily experience. Because who wants to really be depressed? Nobody. Nobody, there's not anybody that would raise their hand and say, I want to be depressed. Not anybody. You see. So, but you've chosen it. It's hitting you right in the face. You might have had a parent that would get depressed very easily. So therefore, that's in you. They call that here epigenetics.
Mm-hmm.
You're just carrying that with you. But see, it doesn't matter. You don't, if it came with you, you always have the right. You always have the ability not to be depressed. You create something else. If you're a person that tends to be depressed, but flowers make you feel happy, bring flowers into your house. Bring a plant into your house. If going out dancing gets you out of depression, go dancing, because you don't have to stay in depression. Depression is its own reality. You don't have to stay in that reality. You can come out of that reality. Accept that you went in it. Don't beat yourself up on it, because that's part of our quote, acceptance. So yes, I accept the fact that I've created reality today, but I am not staying in it. It is a temporary condition for me. Every dis-ease is a temporary condition, if you make it so. If you make it so. Does that help answer that question, Carol?
It does. It does. And I think it just reinstates that we do need to work to get to creation of reality that is desirable to us on a conscious level, regardless of what our unconscious is creating. And, you know, the easy way out isn't necessarily the best way.
Absolutely. Sometimes some things take longer.
Mm.
Like Greta, for instance, when she learned that she had congestive heart failure, she was kind of going along with the program, and then she saw this news clip that talked about this young man who had just died of congestive heart failure, and then she decided, oh my goodness, let me do something more about this. So then she started really taking the medicine that the doctor gave her, the allopathic medicine. There's nothing wrong with that. It'll only make something wrong with that if you believe something's wrong with it. And then she started doing homeopathic medicines, supplements. She started reading, how can I get rid of this? And of course, she knows how to do energy work. So she was doing that on herself as well. So it took her on that journey, took her 5 years, you see. But now she doesn't, she's not experiencing it. So we're using her as an example to show that maybe something is not going to change right away, but don't give up. You don't want to give up on yourselves. See, when you love yourself, there's no need to give up on yourselves. You see. So love yourselves, change your lives, create that which you want to create. You want to live in a bigger house? Then create the bigger house. That's all you have. Concentrate on what you want, not on the things that you don't want. If you're going to school and you say, I want to go to school, but where's the money? Concentrate on getting into the school. Concentrate on being accepted in that school that you want to be, and see that everything is there for you. When you think of an idea, everything is there to support that idea, regardless if that idea is high or low. Everything's going to come to support it. Everything will be there for you to support you in how you think and how you feel. So concentrate, I'm going to say it again, concentrate on what you want. Don't give credence to what you don't want. That's your go-to list, as Greta's calling it lately, your go-to list. Something doesn't go my way, so I think I'm sad, I'm disappointed. I see myself as a failure. That's your go-to list. Forget that go-to list. Start staying with the point of is that I'm a great person. I'm a wonderful person. I'm creating realities that I'm moving forward with ease and joy in my life. Focus there. Don't focus on the go-to side. Focus on the happy side that you perceive to be happy, because how you feel is happiness, or what you feel is happiness, is not necessarily what somebody else is going to feel is happy. Because see, that's the individuality is there. Yes, Carol.
I said very true. Realm, we are out of time for this week. Is there any final quick comment you want to make?
We want to say again, love yourselves unconditionally. That's it.
Best message ever. Thank you, Realm, for joining us. Thank you, Greta. Thank you, most of all, listeners. Until we create each other again, enjoy your week.
Once again, thanks for joining us at Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings on TransformationTalkRadio.com. As you have explored today's creation of reality experience with the Realm and me, Greta, each of you is being supported by us in further developing the understanding that you are not just an individual existing in linear time and space, but a multi-dimensional force of infinite possibilities who is connected to all. So begin to create the realities you want. Join us every Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific Time and 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Shifting Impressions at TransformationTalkRadio.com. So long until we create each other again next Friday.